Well, first of all, a big aloha to Mr. Lambert Davis, an artist who has created many beautiful pieces of art. He's also the illustrator of many books, including the books Jolly Mon and Trouble Dolls, both by Jimmy Buffett and Savannah Jane Buffett. So thank you for joining us, Mr. Davis.
Glad to be here.
Most stories start best from the beginning, and I think you should tell everyone about your island beginnings. You were born on Oahu, Hawaii. So tell us about the early parts of your life.
Well, yes, I was born in Hawaii, lived there until I was about 6 years old. Really enjoyed that. My family and I, as you know, we're in Australia, and we still go through the Hawaiian Islands on the way back to the mainland, and we still have friends and family there that we stop in and see. And I think it probably left its mark. I still am very, very interested in just about everything on the water, and especially the tropics. So, yeah, like I said, I think it really left a deep, deep mark on me.
So how did you get interested in art?
My dad was an architect, and he went to a school in Los Angeles called Chouinard, which was one of the two main art schools there in Los Angeles. The other was Art Center. And when I had finished high school and was just fooling around, going to junior college and stuff, he really put it to me and suggested that I get serious with it, and got it organized, and I ended up going to a school in Pasadena called Art Center College of Design. It's one of the top design colleges in the country, if not the entire planet. So I ended up going there and did a degree, got my Bachelor of Fine Arts in illustration, and then just kept chasing after it. Got hooked up with a publisher that was in San Diego called Harcourt Brace, and one thing led to another. Did a couple book covers for him, and was offered the chance to do a children's book.
We typically ask our guests who their musical influences are, but since you're a painter, I have to ask, who were your visual art inspirations?
Oh, well, early on I was introduced to some of in the heyday of the illustration, guys like N.C. Wyeth, who is really well known and illustrated like Treasure Island and some of those really famous books out of Robert Louis Stevenson and things like that. And that was a real kind of heyday of illustration. Those guys were well known through the whole entire country. But as far as fine artists, of course, Picasso and the island paintings that Gauguin and some of those fellows did are really, I find really appealing.
In writing the book, in illustrating the book, The Jolly Mon, there was a quote from you I read. You said, "I had to do a lot of research down at the beach."
Yeah, well, that is just any excuse is a good excuse, and I certainly still to this day spend as much time down at the beach as I can, and just love it. I think that the colors and the mixture of the sky and the water and the surrounding landscape and stuff has always been something that's appealed to me, and even in my most recent books, there are paintings that'll certainly show through.
So, how did you come to meet Jimmy Buffett?
Well, the woman that was the editor for the Jolly Mon and the Trouble Dolls book was Bonnie Verberg, and it just turned out that her husband at the time was a studio musician, and so through her, Bonnie through her husband was all in Hollywood and stuff like that, and so she was kind of coming across those people at different parties and all the socializing scene there in Southern California, and she met Jimmy Buffett and just put it to him and asked if he'd ever considered doing a children's book, and he said that at the moment he actually had been fiddling around with something with his daughter, and it just went from there. And I was really fortunate, sort of being in the right place at the right time, and doing a style of painting that appealed to Jimmy, and it just kind of went from there.
What did you think of the story of the Jolly Mon?
Oh, I thought it was great. I thought it was really neat. As you know, it's kind of loosely based on, I think it's a Greek myth or something, or legend along similar lines of a musician that gets rescued by a dolphin after the pirates throw him overboard or something. So the fact that he did that and adapted it to a Caribbean tale, and it's real kind of Jimmy Buffett stuff, so it was really appealing. I like it.
And what did you think of the co-author, Savannah Jane Buffett?
Yeah, well, I thought it was really neat. Apparently, the way the story came about is that Savannah Jane was kind of sitting on his lap, picking away at the computer keys or something, and they sort of wrote the story together. And she was, when I met her, it was quite a number of years ago. She's just a little girl, and we did they at one of the I think it was a booksellers convention or something in Los Angeles, and we all went to it just when they were just introducing the book, launching the book, and she was just sweet as. I'm sure she's still a lovely young woman now.
Did you pattern your illustration of the Jolly Mon after any one person?
Yeah, well, I did a sample piece originally, because that was when I was just beginning my career as an illustrator, and so we did a sample piece. Because it was the Jolly Mon, the sample piece I did was I used a friend of mine, and he was a much bigger guy, kind of not rotund, but a much bigger guy, and that's what he said. He said, "Look, we really like the painting, but Jolly Mon he's kind of a Caribbean guy, and he's a lot leaner and this and that." And there was another person that was working at Harcourt Brace. His name was Michael Farmer, and he knew this fella through some other kind of, I'm not sure exactly how, but he put me in touch with the guy that's in the book, and he was just perfect. And so he ended up taking a bunch of photos of him and stuff like that, and using him for a model. So he is just a guy that lives in San Diego that looks, pretty similar to the guy that I use in the book. So,
with your paintings, what is it that you hope the person reading the book or looking at the painting gets out of seeing it?
Well, I just hope that they can really get some sort of feeling of what it's like to be in those places. I've really just sort of lived for those moments that, when it's just that quality of light and the temperature is just perfect, and you don't need much else, And hopefully I can take, the readers and the people that are experiencing it there.
I think you do, and both of the books, the paintings are just so beautiful. And I've often thought, have you ever thought about making any of the artwork from either of those books available as prints?
Well, not as prints. There was a gallery in Los Angeles right when those books were being released and stuff, and we ended up selling quite a few of those paintings, originals, in the gallery. There was some talk about making prints of them then, and I'm not 100% sure how we'd go about doing it now, but it would have been nice if we would have got that underway at the time. I think we'd sort of missed the boat on that one.
Well, moving on to the book Trouble Dolls, to quote the publication book list, they said, soft in focus yet bold, Davis's colorful paintings capture the story's tone as well as its dramatic detail, a satisfying tale with great visual appeal. What did you think? What did you think of the second book, Trouble Dolls?
Yeah, I thought it was a good book. Little bit of a departure where we didn't have sort of the open ocean stuff, but it was. I think that one was more of Savannah Jane really putting her stamp on it a little bit more, and I really enjoyed that book as well. There were some different elements in it, and while it didn't have sort of the song to go along with it and stuff, and it was still a real satisfying book.
Did you pattern the illustration of Lizzie Reinhart after Savannah Jane?
Well, not directly, although I knew it was sort of the tale. You can see that it's a little bit biographical almost of the two of them. Her dad was, I don't know if that was right when he crashed his plane or not, but he had some, there was some parallels certainly between, while the tale was fantasy, some of the stuff that was going on in their lives at the same time. And I had met Savannah Jane, and I used, it was a good friend from the beach. It was her niece for the model, and it worked out that she did look similar.
So, on a different note, what kind of music do you like listening to?
Well, listen, I still really like Jimmy Buffett. I can't go past that, but the other stuff, it's pretty eclectic, but I certainly like sort of the narrative-driven and guitar stuff, sort of campfire music, and storytelling music. And I think, that's Jimmy's real sort of forte, and just sort of the like I said, just a nice, simple campfire music almost, the stuff, even the stuff that the old Southern stuff that's kind of making a bit of a comeback now with I don't know, have you seen the movie Brother, Wherefore Art Thou?
Yes, I have.
Some of that kind of stuff, even all the way back to the Big Rock Candy Mountain and stuff like that, to the more modern day guys like what's the one Hawaiian guy's name with the guitar? I can't think of it right now. Anyway.
So when you're not creating art, what do you like doing?
Well, I still try to get in the ocean as much as I can. I still surf, and I do a bit of sailing, and of course just sort of the camping and stuff. As you know, Australia is still fairly wide open. There's only 20 million people here, and it's about the same size as the United States. So I do a fair amount of camping and stuff when we can. I've got two young boys, a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old boy, my wife and I, and we do try to get out and see the country as much as we can. The coastline, I should say. I'm not, I don't spend that much time out in the never, as they call it here, but yeah, that's it.
I wanted to go to Australia for a long time. It seems like a really enchanting place.
Yeah, it's a fantastic country. It's we live in a little town that's just it's about 100 miles north of Sydney, and Sydney and Melbourne are the two biggest cities. But even being 100 miles north, it's just so much smaller. Another hour or so up the coast, and especially this time of year, there wouldn't be anybody on the beach or anything. It's a really, really, really nice place, and we haven't seen much of it. We haven't been to the West Coast, and haven't been down to Tasmania and things like that. But it's a wide open country still.
Yeah, it seems like an amazing place. It's been 20 years since The Jolly Mont was released, and 17 years since Trouble Dolls was released. The book is still selling very well in bookstores, and it's found in libraries everywhere. Why do you think these books have held up so well?
I think just that when you look at the story, the story holds up, and there's something really appealing about it to children and even adults. One of the real important things about any book is that, especially a children's book, is that the parents got to enjoy reading it to the kids as much as the kids do. And I think that's one of the reasons that they both really held up. And it's just the storyline, and hopefully, of course, the paintings are engaging enough, but I think it just has that longevity, and also there's people all over the world that just love Jimmy, so they're always going to grab him if they can.
Well, I'll tell you, I do think that the artwork has added so much to the story, because they're just such enchanting pictures. And then there's like little neat things that you see, like there's one illustration where you can see the frame pictures on the wall, and there's like a picture of manatees and a reference to the other book, like you see the Jolly Mon on the wall. So yeah, I definitely think that the artwork has added a lot.
Be good. I think we'll have to get a hold of Savannah Jane again, see if her and Jimmy are ready to do the third one.
That was my next question.
We'll have a trilogy. It'd be great.
Would you consider a third one?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it really is. They really were good fun to do, and yeah, I'd welcome the opportunity to do another book and work with them. It'd be great.
Well, Mr. Davis, while you talk to us in Australia, this program is going out all over the world. So my final question, what would you, Mr. Lambert Davis, like to say to the world?
Just everybody enjoy every day. Enjoy every single day. It's still a fantastic play.
All right. Well, thank you so much, sir. And I would like to remind all the listeners out there to check out LambertDavis.com.
Thanks a lot. It's been a pleasure.
All right.